Welcome back to Rated Radio. I'm Ray Zander.
And I'm Shane Wyndham.
This is John Mayer versus SHAWN MULLINs.
Hope you're ready for a fight.
Roll the intro.
And before we get going here, this episode exists because our listener, Katie, who is my sister.
Hi, Katie.
And my lovely sister.
Katie Big.
Also produces some stuff on the Banter Bar.
And who's been on the show.
Yes, both shows. She's amazing.
Yes, she was on our, if you want to listen to her episode, we talked Fiona Apple. So that was like in the first season she was here. So I think she was, besides my dad, I think she was one of our first guests.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
SHAWN MULLINs is apparently one of her top 10 artists, and it will not surprise most people who know anything about me that both of these artists would probably make my top 10 artists of all time. So,
yeah, for sure.
We did have to randomize the albums, which I'm going to sound like Rayburn here. I'm not exactly sure I love that aspect, but let's go ahead and do the thing with SHAWN MULLINs first, right?
Yep. The album that we covered by SHAWN MULLINs was Honeydew from 2008. I gave it 5 great tracks out of 12.
I only thought 4 were great.
My bottom track was All in My Head.
Leaving All Your Troubles Behind.
And my top track was Rewind the Years.
There we agree.
All right. So how did the music make you feel, Shane?
Like I'm dining on a patio, hearing a street corner musician play for tips.
Okay. And how the music makes me feel like I'm a lovesick moonshiner in the 1920s. Specifically, if you want the evidence, go listen to See That Train. That's exactly what it's putting off for me.
I dig it.
What I thought about the album, Mullin's soulful southern bluegrass roots were unexpected, but the surprise is pleasant to say the least. His picking style reminds me of other similar greats like Mayer, Stapleton, and Bob Dylan, even going so far as to make comparisons to Sturgill Simpson. Mullin's romantic melodies are perfect for barefoot backyard runs right after a spring rain. While not exceptional, there is grace in its humility and has you waiting for another new story.
Respectable.
Thanks.
I did like that.
What did you think, Shane?
This record is picture painting Americana, a country blues ode to small people, small places, and a world without modern luxuries. As someone who owns every Mullins record, even those released prior to Soul's Core, I don't think it's a stretch to say that this is his least accessible album in terms of mass appeal. Sean, if you're listening, please give the rest of your discography to the streaming world. One gets the feeling when listening to this spin that he had some obvious musical aims, such as flexing rock solo muscle over Johnny Cash's drum and bass style. Those Chris Christopherson influences are also plainly on his sleeve. This makes for melody work that's much more quaint than is typical of the artist in question. All these things combine to create something that's clearly made more for the artist's own vision than it is for the average listener. I respect the hell out of that, but won't pretend it makes for one of my favorite listens. In the majority of places, it's doing little more for me than weekly winning, hitting heaviest when it adopts a funk-tinged approach to the blues, or takes acoustic aim at love and advice. The harmonica ads do help things along as well, where they exist. I just wish more of this felt passionately inspired the way I'm used to much of his material feeling, and less like going through the motions or the forcing of creativity's hand. It does seem on occasion like what you get from Neil Young or Guy Clark, but that's not exactly the best fit for Mr. Mullins, however strange that claim may seem considering the kind of music that he writes. This reminds me of that awkward year of one's life spent living in a place which you never quite felt at home in. A lot of good may have happened in that year, but you just never can shake all the underlying discomfort associated with having to depend on a dollar store for groceries, grumpy Republicans for neighbors, and potholes along the sidewalks. Nothing here is bad. Most of it's just mid. There are some winners I'm happy to have in exchange for the full listen, but even those aren't the 10s I know this artist to be capable of. Again though, he appears to have made this one purely to suit the artistic picture in his head. At that, I'd say he succeeded without question. As a listener, however, Honeydew reminds me of a laborer's sunset. The potential of midday is gone, and all that's left to look forward to is an average unwind. Weak American beer, a chair on the porch, and talking through what happened in a workday you didn't want to experience once, let alone have to relive in conversation. It's a memorable record for that reason, but far from my favorite thing this songsmith has ever recorded. The man has a tendency to aim his fires at the human heart, and for me, too much of Honeydew is aimed at the belly.
All right, so we've talked about some old music. Let's go take a break and talk about some new music.
Sounds good.
what you did with the honeydew. Very nice. All right, so Shane, we covered a Billboard hit this week. What was it?
Rockin' a Hard Place by Bailey Zimmerman.
And do you want me to go first?
I sure do. You do your thing.
All right. This soft country love song is just that. What you come to expect, simple. The slide guitar is pleasant and the other accompaniment works, but the weakest factor remains this weak country vocal vibrato that everyone and they mama at the CMTs got right now. Shake it up. I gave it a 5.
All right.
Mid.
Tough crowd.
Yeah, tough crowd. What'd you think?
When I hate to buck the trend that's going on across the table here, but when I tell you you're not ready for this, I mean it. You could dismiss the track as another sad country love song, but that's not doing this justice, and we both know it. You could complain that the chorus is a bit too similar to the verses, or that the bridge needed to be longer, but those two feel mostly like nitpicks. This song has an engaging instrumental foundation, a guitar solo, sweeping punches of emotional maturity, and a gentle yet gruff voice to oversee it all. I may not think it's perfect, but it's pretty damn close. 9 out of 10 stars for me.
Yeah, I couldn't get past the like the style of singing now. It bugs the fuck out of me, dude. I did like the backing track though. I like the slide guitar from it, but yeah, I just can't. Me with sounds.
I get endless enjoyment out of the quirks that, like, whatever the weird little things that pop up, whatever it is. Like, I've just
that's my tism showing, man. I'm sure.
Wanting to, like, make a list.
You should, of different things that bother me so that you can bug me with it later.
And then I go and I make
a soundboard of all of those things.
No, I make like an album of songs where the musical foundation is fantastic, but on top of all of it is all that shit you hate.
Don't do that to me.
You want to go talk about John Mayer?
Yes. Let's go talk about some good music.
Spoiler alert, this is good music, huh?
Maybe. It might be good music. So the album that we covered by John Mayer was his Continuum album from 2006. Now, keep in mind, Mullins was in 2008, so they're in the same stadium. They're on the same playing field right now. I gave it 8 great tracks out of 12.
And I thought 11 were great.
All right. My bottom track was Belief.
In Repair.
And my top track was Gravity or Stop This Train.
So Gravity was another 10 for me. Mm-hmm. It's Stop This Train.
Mm-hmm. All right. The music makes me feel like I'm slow dancing on a sunny Saturday morning.
And I would compare it to having a therapy session in a lounge bar.
Okay. All right. I see that. Mayer's soulful guitar and vocals rocks you gently to sleep or across a cold floor on a Saturday morning in the arms of a lover. Mayer's third album offers a ton, from its hopeful perspective on important topics to its romantic and sexy percussion. One thing I will say is he keeps it simple as far as an instrumental inclusion goes. But don't let that fool you. Quality over quantity has never been a richer statement. John fucking Mayer!
Okay.
All right. What'd you think?
Know at the outset here that I'm not looking to ruffle any feathers. I'm one of the most dedicated John Mayer fanatics around, and yes, I know a very large number of people cling to this disc like a sacred cow. I wish I could count myself among them because I get it. Continuum would be the greatest achievement of most artists' works. I just don't think it's John's greatest achievement. Lots of folks always seem to be chomping at the bit to call this the equivalent of Jeff Buckley's Grace effort. We'll have to come back another time for what I think one-ups this album in terms of
John Mayer's
comparisons to Jeff Buckley's Grace. Still, I can talk about the whys while we're on the topic of Continuum itself not being the end-all be-all. Again, keep in mind these are critiques for an album on which everything scored over a 5 on the 10 scale. Nearly half of those were full 10s. Every song has both novel lyrics and solo guitar work amid the other melodies, and there's a heavy emphasis on small intricacies and additions to the instrumentation, which help keep serious listeners engaged throughout. But I am fully at peace with owning that this isn't a perfect listen. Tracks sometimes meander within the same melody or run too long. Solos have a tendency to be strewn over what would musically amount to a third verse instead of giving us a unique bridge. And the Hendrix cover would have gotten lower marks if not for the mystical guitar work, because its mixing is muddy, while the guitar and vocals present as a background to that less relevant remainder of the instruments. Some of the lyricism on offer is also not nearly as touching as it could be, opting rather for sobering self-reflection. I like that personally, but won't lie that it limits accessibility or causes some tracks to feel harder to reach for in the memory banks. That all being said, what's left to say is that this gentle groover is a must-hear album. Even the semi-long-winded and mildly underbaked song In Repair is better than plenty of what I've had to listen to for rated radio. I may not think it's John Mayer's best, but it is nonetheless one of the best albums, so long as you're not a listener who needs a storm of clash and clang. This one's like floating a tender river.
Still good, nonetheless. John Mayer he's John fucking Mayer. And speaking of, how do you feel about the whole Taylor John Mayer thing? Aren't you like caught in the divorce? Weren't you caught up in that?
So here's the thing. I really like that half of my heart was a thing that happened as a result. I tend to look at it as a maturity thing, probably for both of them.
Okay.
I think if their music is anything to go on, that he was definitely not prepared or in the place. And I think ultimately that maybe she is just not someone who's ever going to be accepting of who John is at his core, which is, I completely understand this myself because I'm the same way. Something of not a man whore, but someone who doesn't feel like sex is the end of everything.
Yeah. And
I worry that that can be Taylor's perspective. You know, I'm not behind the curtain, so I don't actually know.
Yeah.
But yeah, John fucked it up, but she probably would have fucked it up if it went on for long enough too.
I think they're both just fine now.
Yeah.
They're both, I think, are probably in better places than they would have been together if they would have stayed together at this point.
I think if they can keep maturing the way that they have been, they'd eventually be a power couple.
Yes. Could you imagine the music that they would make? Oh my God.
And that's what I would like. It's this generation's Nicks and Buckingham. Like if they could manage to make that function, it'd be spectacular.
Stellar. All right. Well, I want to encourage you guys to keep the conversation going. If you want to be a part of the show, please email us at rated_radio to be a part of the show.
And that's at yahoo.com.
At yahoo.com. Yes. Thank you, Shane. Who took it for you this week? Like, I even need to ask.
Yeah, it's John Mayer.
Yeah. And John Mayer took it for me as well. But I will not hate on Honeydew because, damn, there was some stuff there that I really liked. Especially like the Stapleton Sturgill comparisons. Yeah. I think Mullins walked so that those motherfuckers could run.
I've seen people talk about SHAWN Mullins as writing music for the working man. The album that we covered here is a great example of that. But I think it's pretty telling because I don't, as far as I know, you're not someone who's sat down and listened to SHAWN Mullins albums ever. No. And most of them, in my opinion, are better than this.
Okay.
So
I can't wait.
I think that the matchup, it rolled wrong. You know, in a different scenario, I could just as easily see SHAWN Mullins being on top of John Mayer. That
You know what? No, keep it in. That's
the
perfect.
Power couple,
yeah,
okay?
There's the power couple we need.
Power couple, yeah.
Mullins and Mayer. It's like a law firm. Mullins and Mayer.
Considering the amount of musicianship, respect, lyrical poetry, the way these guys work with other artists, I'm really surprised that they're not working together already or haven't in some capacity.
I wonder why that. I wonder if there's been conversations that have happened.
Maybe. Never know.
We'll never know. Maybe we will. Who knows? That could be the good thing that we need in 2025 is a Mullins-Mayer collaboration. And throw a little bit of Eminem in there. I'm
damn sure counting on musicians to get me through this year, the next 4 years, whatever you want. Yeah. Bring the pain, please.
Rock-a-bye.
Anyone and everyone. And Sean, I don't even care if it's just that hits compilation from the early years. I'm struggling with the name right now. I want the rest of the world to hear what I've heard in your early discography. You've got so much great material there, and most people haven't heard it. That's a really sad thing to me. Wow. Don't be Garth Brooks. You know what I mean? You don't want to be Garth Brooks.
Yeah, don't be that guy. Don't be Garth Brooks.
Let people hear your stuff.
Yeah. Don't let us have to hear it in the event of your death like Prince did, because we didn't get that music until he died. So let us appreciate it while you're here, and you can appreciate it with us. Let's appreciate you together. And that's going to do it.
Until next time, fill your world with music.